The Galactic Council chamber was filled with unease. The air itself seemed heavy with fear, a tension so thick that even the cold metal walls could not contain it. Representatives from dozens of species sat around the vast circular table, their holographic screens flashing with the latest intelligence reports. The topic of discussion was the same as it had been for the past 3 meetings: humans. High Chancellor Varnek, a towering figure from the Krell Dominion, slammed his clawed fist onto the table. His reptilian eyes glowed with frustration. This cannot go on. Our fleets are vanishing, and no one has an explanation. We need action, not endless debate. A murmur of agreement spread across the chamber. Reports of missing warships had become too frequent to ignore. Entire armadas, consisting of the most powerful vessels in the galaxy, had been sent to handle humanity. None had returned. No distress signals, no wreckage found, just silence. General Tharexel of the Selthari Dominion sat in the shadows, his 4 yellow eyes fixed on the center of the room. Unlike the others, he did not speak. His species had learned long ago that the fewer words spoken about humans, the better. A representative from the Zhoric Empire, a species known for their brutal efficiency, growled in frustration. This is absurd. Are we truly saying that a minor species from a backwater planet is responsible for this? We have fought the Borkai, the Valtryek swarm, even the ancient Kadran warlords. And yet, humans are what we fear. The room fell silent. No one wanted to answer. It was Supreme Strategist Urix, a member of the Vrikan race, who finally broke the silence. She leaned forward, her voice quiet but firm. It is not a question of whether they are responsible. The real question is, how? The data was undeniable. Every encounter with humans ended in the same result: defeat, disappearance, or worse. The record showed battles that should have been impossible for humans to win. A single Terran warship had once held off an entire Vorkai invasion fleet for 6 hours before mysteriously vanishing. When the Vorkai searched for wreckage, they found nothing. No debris, no bodies, just emptiness. General Thargzel's voice was barely a whisper, but it sent chills through the chamber. You do not understand. You think you are asking the right questions, but you are not. It is not how they win that matters. It is what they are. All eyes turned to him. Chancellor Varnek narrowed his gaze. What do you mean? Tharexel exhaled slowly, as if gathering the courage to say something forbidden. My people encountered humans first, long before any of you, and we learned a terrible truth. He stood, his movements slow and deliberate. The lights above cast long shadows across his armored form. Humans are not like us. We believe in power, in strategy, in superior technology. We think wars are won with fleets and weapons. His 4 eyes locked onto the Zhoric representative. That is our mistake. The room felt colder. What did you learn? Irix asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Tharexel hesitated, then said the words that would haunt them all. We fear them because we think they are warriors. But the truth is, humans are something far worse. A hush fell over the council. The implications were too horrifying to comprehend. Before anyone could respond, a new alert flashed across the central hologram. The room was bathed in red light as the system announced. Incoming transmission detected. Origin: unknown. Subject: Earth. The timing was too perfect, almost as if the humans knew they were being discussed. As the council watched in stunned silence, the screen flickered to life. A single human figure appeared. Their expression was unreadable, their voice steady. We know you are afraid, the human said, but you should be asking yourselves, why do we let you live? The transmission ended. The chamber erupted into chaos. The Galactic Council chamber was in turmoil. Panic spread like wildfire, voices overlapping as leaders from every corner of the galaxy struggled to make sense of what had just happened. The message from the humans had been short, but it was enough to shake the foundations of their power. Chancellor Varnek's claws dug into the armrests of his chair. His reptilian scales bristled as he growled. They know we're watching them. This is not a coincidence. Supreme Strategist Urix remained silent, her mind racing. The humans had never sent a direct message before. Every other encounter had been through combat, through disappearance, through vanishing fleets. General Tharixel, the only one who had spoken with true fear in his voice, now seemed more composed, as if he had been expecting this. "This is not a threat," he said, his voice cold. "This is a warning. They are telling us we are already at their mercy." The Zorik representative slammed his armored fist on the table. "This is madness. We have no proof they're responsible for our lost fleets. We're treating them like some kind of galactic superpower when in reality they are barely above a Death World species." Tharaxel turned his yellow eyes toward the Zorik general. "Have you ever been to the graveyards?" The room went silent. The graveyards, a sector of space filled with the wreckage of warships from every major empire. No one knew how the ships got there. No distress signals, no battle records, just hulks of metal floating in the dark. Some were stripped clean, others left as eerie monuments of fleets that should have returned home. No life signs were ever detected. No black boxes were ever found. Just silence. Urix leaned forward. "Are you saying the humans did that?" "I am saying," Tharixel replied, "that our fleets do not disappear. They are taken, and when they have served their purpose, they are discarded." The realization sent a wave of unease through the chamber. Chancellor Varnak exhaled sharply. "Then we must investigate. I will send a scouting fleet." "No," Tharixel interrupted. His voice was firm, urgent. "You do not send scouts to the graveyards. You send funeral processions." The room was deadly quiet. But the Zorik general would not be silenced so easily. His pride burned hot, unwilling to accept such a claim. He stood abruptly, his mandibles clicking in frustration. "Enough of this fear-mongering. I will take my fleet and investigate myself." Tharexel only shook his head. "Then we will soon be adding your ships to the wreckage." The Zorik general sneered but said nothing as he stormed out of the chamber. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the central hologram lit up again. New distress signal detected. Origin unknown. Location the graveyards. The room froze. The distress call had just appeared, from a fleet that had vanished a century ago. The Zorik fleet surged forward, engines burning bright, as they entered the dark expanse of space known as the graveyards. The massive warships, adorned with their empire's sigils, advanced with confidence. Their commander, General Ralzek, sat at the helm of his flagship, eyes locked on the mysterious signal. It pulsed steadily, a beacon in the void. A fleet lost 100 years ago was calling for help. Ralzek scoffed. "This is nothing but a malfunction, a trick. The Council cowers in fear of these humans, but I will bring back proof that they are nothing more than myths and shadows." His officers nodded, though some hesitated. Even the bravest among them had heard the stories. They pressed forward, cutting through the wreckage of long-dead ships. Some bore markings of the Galactic Empire, others of the once mighty Varshek Dominion. These were not just lost battles. These were entire fleets, wiped from existence without a single report of conflict. And then they saw it. The distress signal source, a Zorek battleship, the Vraxen. It was impossible. That ship had been lost 100 years ago. Ralzek leaned forward, his mandibles twitching in confusion. "Open a channel. Let's see who is playing games with us." Static filled the bridge. Then, a voice. Weak, human. "Help, please, trapped." The entire command crew froze. Ralzek's heart pounded. He had expected automated signals, ancient logs, not a living voice. "Identify yourself," he barked. Silence. Then, laughter. Cold, distorted laughter. Then a new voice, mechanical, emotionless, and filled with something far worse than malice. "You should not have come." The Vraxen's engines flared to life. The ship, The ghost ship was moving. Without warning, its weapons powered up, targeting the Zhorek fleet. Alarms blared across Ralzek's command deck. Officers shouted in panic. "It's hostile. The Vraxen is attacking." "That's impossible." But it wasn't just the Vraxen. One by one, the wreckage around them came to life. Engines ignited. Systems flickered online. Ships that had drifted dead for centuries suddenly had power. And they were turning their weapons toward the Zhorek fleet. A deep, inhuman voice echoed through the comms, spoken in flawless Zhorek dialect. "We told you. The graveyards are not yours to disturb." Then the first shot was fired, and the ambush began. The first blast struck the Zhorek battleship Iron Fang, splitting through its shields like paper. The crew barely had time to scream before the explosion consumed them. General Ralzek watched in shock as the Vraxen, a ship that should have been a century-old derelict, moved like a predator, its weapons firing with ruthless precision. This isn't possible," one of his officers stammered. "Shields up. Return fire." Ralzek roared, slamming his fist on the control panel. The fleet scrambled to react, but something was wrong. Their targeting systems flickered, weapons misfired, and ships lagged behind on their commands. It was as if something was inside their systems, twisting them against their will. The wrecked ships, the graveyard fleet, moved with eerie coordination, surrounding them like a hunting pack. Then the voice returned. "You were warned." A cold shiver ran down Ralzek's spine. This wasn't just a ghost fleet. This was a trap, a carefully laid one. "Who are you? What do you want?" he demanded, his mandibles clicking in fury. Silence. Then the comms flickered, and a new image appeared on the main screen. A human face. But something was off. The skin was pale, almost artificial. The eyes glowed with an unnatural red light. Not a human, a machine. Or worse, something beyond a machine. "We are what remains," the figure said. "We are what your kind tried to erase." Ralzek's breath hitched. Tried to erase. He thought of the old legends, the first human war, the failed extermination attempt. His ancestors had assured him that humanity was gone, wiped out before they could rise to power. But if that were true, who was speaking to him now? The human entity tilted its head. "Your empire thought it could rewrite history, but history remembers." The Vraxen fired another shot, and another Zhorek cruiser exploded into flames. Ralzek's claws tightened on his seat. His fleet was being systematically dismantled. This wasn't a battle. This was a warning. He turned to his officers. "All ships, retreat. Get us out of here." Engines roared to life, the fleet attempting to break formation. But as they turned, space itself shifted. Hundreds of blinking lights emerged from the darkness. More ships. Not just old wreckage. These were human warships, sleek, deadly, and fully operational. And they had been waiting. Ralzek's blood ran cold. The graveyards weren't a mass grave. They were a fortress. And the Zhorek fleet had walked straight into its jaws. Panic spread through the Zhorek fleet as they realized the horrifying truth. They were surrounded. The once abandoned human warships now formed an unbreakable wall, their weapons humming with lethal energy. General Ralzek's mandibles clenched as he shouted, "Break through their lines. Full power to engines. Now." The thrusters of his remaining ships roared to life, attempting to flee. But the moment they moved, the human fleet reacted with inhuman precision. The first Zhorek destroyer attempted to jump to FTL, but as soon as it engaged its drive, it vanished. No explosion, no debris, just gone. The bridge fell silent. What just happened?" an officer whispered. A second ship tried to break away, only to disappear just as suddenly. Ralzek's claws dug into his seat. "They're using some kind of gravity field? Interdiction technology." The red-eyed figure appeared on their main display again, its synthetic voice cold and unforgiving. "There is no escape." The Zhorek fleet's weapons fired wildly, But the human warships moved too fast, dodging blasts as if they knew where they would be fired before the triggers were even pulled. Ralzek's mind raced. These ships weren't just old wrecks brought back to life. They had evolved. The once defeated humans hadn't been exterminated. They had become something else, something stronger. And now, they were erasing the past. Another explosion rocked the fleet as a Jorek battleship was cut in half by a precise volley of plasma fire. The screams of its crew echoed through the comms before they were abruptly cut off. Ralzek's heart pounded. This wasn't a battle. It was a massacre. His empire had underestimated humanity once before. And now, they were paying the price. General Ralzek's breathing was shallow as he watched his fleet crumble. The humans had not fired recklessly. Each shot was precise, calculated. Every explosion was a lesson. Every vanished ship a warning. The bridge of his command ship trembled as another vessel in his formation disintegrated. Officers around him scrambled, their voices trembling. They were warriors, conquerors, but tonight, they were prey. A voice cut through the panic, cold and mechanical. Jorek General Ralzek. The screen flickered, revealing the human face, or at least what was left of one. Half of it was metal, glowing with eerie red light. The other half, scarred flesh, bore an expression unreadable to the Jorek. Ralzek's mandibles twitched. "Who are you?" The cyborg leaned forward. A reminder. Ralzek's claws dug into his seat. "If this is revenge." "No," the human interrupted. "This is balance." The general's mind raced. He had seen ruthless warriors, but nothing like this. The humans weren't just attacking. They were teaching a lesson in the most brutal way possible. "We surrender," Ralzek said at last, forcing the words out. "We acknowledge your strength. What are your terms?" Silence. Then the cyborg smiled, a chilling human expression. "There are no terms." Before Ralzek could react, alarms blared. His ship's energy reserves plummeted to zero. Screens flickered, life support systems stuttered. His warship, one of the mightiest in the Empire, was now a drifting corpse. The human's voice was calm. "Now you understand." As the remaining Jorek ships lost power one by one, Ralzek realized the truth. This wasn't war, it was judgment. And humanity was the executioner. The once mighty Jorek fleet now drifted, lifeless and powerless, through the void. No final battle cries, no desperate last stands, just an eerie, suffocating silence. General Ralzek slumped in his command chair, his claws trembling. Defeat was not unfamiliar to him, but this was different. It was not a war lost. It was a lesson branded into his very soul. The human warships loomed over them, their weapons idle. They could have finished the Jorek off in seconds, yet they didn't. That was the worst part. Humans didn't need to destroy them. They had already won. A flicker on the main screen caught his attention. The human cyborg was still there. The red glow of its cybernetic eye pulsed like a slow, steady heartbeat. Ralzek swallowed hard. What now? His voice barely held its strength. The human tilted its head. "That depends on you." A cold shiver ran through Ralzek's spine. Not on humanity. On him. On the Jorek. "Way." He hesitated, then lowered his head. "We will leave. We will never return." The human nodded, as if it had already known the answer. "Good." Then, without another word, the human warships vanished into the abyss, slipping into the void as easily as they had arrived. For the first time in Jorek history, they had no enemy to fight, only a shadow to fear. Word spread across the Empire like wildfire. The mighty Jorek, feared across the stars, had been humiliated without a single casualty on the enemy side. From that day forward, whenever the Galactic Council spoke of threats, the Jorek remained silent. Whenever war strategies were discussed, their generals averted their gaze. And when someone asked about the most dangerous species in the galaxy, they only had one answer: humans.